The Vietnam War, it's over. Your job just begun.
A new HBO original limited series.
Welcome to the world of spycraft. Strap in.
From executive producers Park Chan-wook and Robert Downey Jr.
What are you concealing?
Based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Viet Thanh Nguyen.
What if I told you that I was a communist spy?
How did you become this?
The Sympathizer, streaming April 14th on Max. Subscription required.
Join Jessica Smith on Lead Like a Girl podcast, where she defies odds, shares inspiring stories, and empowers women to embrace their inner leaders. Tune in for a transformative journey.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. This week's episode, we are going to get back to it. So I'm going to attempt to get back to my story where I left off. I know I kind of took a little bit of detour these last few weeks, but I am back to the story because I want to really get through my journey to the point where I'm at now. As I mentioned, I will be expanding this podcast and partnering with my two BFFs, Jamie and Coraline. So I will be venturing out this weekend to spend some time with them. I'm super excited about it, but I want to get back to the story here. And I believe that a few weeks back I left off where we closed this big deal. I encouraged you to make sure that you tell your own stories because your stories will be told, but you may not be the characters in the story. So we closed this big deal and I'm just so excited because I'm like, okay, this is it. I have volunteered. I have taken stretch assignments. I have proved myself to be a salesperson that can close big deals and manage a high dollar amount of revenue. So I know that the sales team is growing at this time, and at the time that I had initially stepped in, they were not ready to start building out their director level sales roles. And now they are. So I'm just knowing that one of them, if no one is getting that role, it is me, because they have pretty much had the opportunity to have a trial run with me in that role. This is how I'm thinking. So the role opens up, I apply, and it is my interview. I look on the invite for the interview and I see that it's a panel interview, and everyone on the panel I know. Everyone on the panel knows me. They know my work, and I'm just excited. The day of the interview, I show up in the interview, and I want to say there were 4 or 5 people on the invite for that interview. And when I show up, there was only 2. Now, one of the 2, well, let's just say, if I had it my way, the 2 I would have knocked off the panel, right, were the 2 that was there. So I'm already like kind of just defeated at this point. And this was also right about the time that I was studying for my real estate license at the same time. So I get in the interview and I'm like a little confused because I'm like, okay, where are all the rest of the people that are supposed to be on this panel interview? And they're like, oh, welcome. How are you? We're just shooting the shit, small talk. And then all of a sudden, the woman in the interview says, so, I just wanted to, ask a few questions about your leader. So how have things been going with him? And I'm like, huh? Like, what the hell does this have to do? Where are the interview excuse me, like, what is happening here? I'm looking around like, where are the hidden cameras? In that first 5 minutes of that interview, it was clear to me that this is not an interview. Okay. I don't know what this is. This is some sort of like, ambush against my leader. I don't know what the hell's going on, but what's not going on is this is not an interview. I'm not getting this job. And I was just pissed. So I'm like, well, everything is going fine, but is that what we're here to talk about? So now they're both looking at me like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. And I'm looking at them like, oh my God, I cannot believe that y'all are using my interview time on this bullshit. Like, what are we doing? So it got to the point where I was going to present my 30, 60, 90-day plan. And in doing so, I bring up my real estate practice exam on the screen instead of my PowerPoint plan. And she looks and says, I don't think that's what you want to show us. And I realized that I was sharing my screen. I knew I was sharing my screen, but I realized I was sharing the wrong screen. So I just played it off. I said something like, oh, I don't even remember, because I was at that point just defeated, because I was clear on, I really just wanted to just hang up the phone. Like, I would just end the team's meeting, because it was that obvious to me. But even the way she was like, oh, I don't think that's what you want to show. It was just, it was awful. And here's the thing, and I want to make something clear, because I'm sharing my journey, and I want to be clear that I believe I work for a wonderful company, and at the highest level of leadership in this company, they want to do the right thing. It's a great company, but it doesn't matter what company you work for. This type of BS is just always going to happen. That's it. This is not, my story to bash, a company by any means. But I share this, one, because it's my story. I lived it and I have a right to tell it. But number two, because I know that these same things are happening at your company and their company and his company and her company, right? It's just the world that we live in. And I want to be able to just share how I navigated these things in hopes that I give someone else that information of how to just work through these things, because what's not going to happen is these things are just going to go away. Like, I could scream from the rooftops and these things, there's always going to be people like this everywhere. That's just the world that we live in. But I just want to make that clear, because, I had someone say to me, you have to be really careful on what you share and the stories that you tell. And I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I do. But I hope that I'm able to tell my story in a way that people know that I'm not here to be a troublemaker. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm here to help others navigate through the waters that otherwise I went through all of this shit for nothing, right? That's how I view it. And when people are embarrassed and ashamed of their story, you've heard a lot of not so great, like some stupid decisions that I've made, some things that I am not proud of, but I've put it out there and it's out here now, right? I can't take it back. But I share it because I don't want it to all be for nothing. I learned something from it, and I want others to be able to take something from it too. So I'll get off my, how they say it, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I just wanted to make sure that I continue to stress my why and what am I here to do. And so I left that. The interview was a complete shit show, and I just left there, and I just knew. And of course, the feedback included, oh, she showed, a real estate practice exam. And I didn't even feel the need to defend myself. But here's the truth of the matter. I went to school. I studied for my business leadership degree 4 years, and then another 2 years on my master's, and studied to get my real estate license. And this is the honest to God truth. There was not one day, not even during a lunch hour, there was not one day, and I worked in the privacy of my own home. Out of all of those years, not one day, my husband, my children, and whoever else was around is my witness, and they know that I'm telling the truth. Not one time did I ever do any type of work other than work during business hours. Never, not one time. I was very clear. It was either 5:01 or later, depending on what I had to do at work. And then I would go to study mode until however long it took me at night and on the weekends. I was very specific in that because for me, remember, here at the Smiths, we are big on integrity, and that's what we teach our children. It's not just about doing the right thing, but it's about doing the right thing when no one else is looking. And so I took great pride in being able to say that any work from home time that I have, I am working from home. Now, nowadays, my schedule is a little more flexible, and I encourage flexible work schedules. If I got to get up and run to the grocery store or go pick up kids or whatever it is that I need to do, that is also how I lead like a girl. I do what I have to do, and we're going to get into some episodes later, going a little deeper into flexible schedules. But in the days that I'm talking about, my schedule was very clear for me. And so when that came up, I know what it looked like when I shared my screen, and I know the narrative that they tried to build when they gave me the feedback, and I didn't even have to defend myself because guess what? At the end of the day, what God sees matters most to me. So I'm not worried about what you think. So the feedback was BS. The interview was BS. And I watched an entire team of directors be hired into a role to do the job that I had been doing for the last year without the title and without the pay. So I was pissed, to say the least. And of course, just like every other story, I want to make sure to really reiterate that God knew what was best for me. See, those people were not in control of me getting that job or not getting that job. But what I realized is that I wanted that job for one reason, and that was I was chasing money. See, I'm a leader. That is a gift that God gave me. So whether or not I wanted to be in leadership, that's my calling. So I didn't get that job. But the job that I ended up getting was a people leader job. It was a senior manager job, not a director job. But that's okay because the director job was an individual contributor. The senior manager job was a people leader, and that's what I was supposed to be doing. And so I was thankful to finally get back into leadership because this is, the first.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
3 roles were not people leader roles. And even though my focus was really making money after our family was really going through a major financial hardship, and as you guys know, those that are leaders, sometimes leadership does not pay more than an individual contributor. So there have been plenty of months in my current role that a lot of people that are my direct reports are making 2 or 3 times as much money as I am in commission because my entire team may not be hitting their goal. So I had to be reminded many of times, I still have to be reminded that we have to just be open that God knows best. That's it. He knows better than we know. And sometimes what we want is not what we're supposed to do. So, that's just, that's just how it goes. I had a interesting, wonderful conversation with a woman today. She heard a talk that I did for an ERG a couple weeks ago, and she reached out to me on LinkedIn, and we had a wonderful conversation today, and it just touched my heart so much because I just shared that piece with her, and she said, I'm almost in tears right now because God really used you to speak words over me right now. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you have no idea, but this morning in my quiet time, in my prayer time, I've just been asking for some clarity over what I'm doing. And you have no idea that you just gave me the answers to my prayers. She said, you were just used. And that just touched my heart because this is what keeps me up at night when I think about other people being in this space of just, where do I go? What do I do? That was actually my second conversation today because the first one was someone reached out at 9:00 this morning and said, hey, do you have time to have a quick chat? And I said, yeah, let's talk now. And she too was just like, man, I'm just tired and just fatigue and just weary. Like, what is this? And it was the same theme. And as I sit here and share this, it's just amazing. And I'm just so grateful. This is the work that just gets me fired up, to just know that I could support other people and share my journey and let them know. And that's what I let both of them know, that, he knows what's best for us. And as we're going through these storms, we have to get to this point where we just sit in this heart of thankfulness and just thank him for the journey, regardless of how it feels, because he knows best. When the sun shines after this storm, that's when we're going to say, oh, wow, that wasn't for me, because he had something better, not something else, but something better. And so I had used the example to her. I said, when I had my third son, Hayden, that was not by any means, I tell this in my story, that was not what I wanted. I did not want another kid. But I got to the point where, God was really wrestling with me. And he's just like, I don't know when you're going to get it, girl. When are you going to get it? It's not what you want. This life is not yours. I already paid for that. It's not what you want. And sometimes we just have to, like when you were a little kid, and I don't know about y'all, but my mom, she'll snatch you up real good by your arm and just give you one good snatch. And it's like, did you hear what I just said? And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes that's how God has to do us. And it's for the best, because he knows what's best. So I got in this people leading job, and I would say in the first month, I was just like, oh, Lord, this is great. I forgot how great this was. I forgot how it was to be able to just walk beside someone and just remind them of the greatness that you put in them, to just uplift someone and to just share with them the greatness that you see in them, that sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror and see it. And so I remember that I always say that, Mark Mignani, the direct buy school of Mark Mignani, he taught me that you are always looking for talent. It is so hard to find good talent. And nowadays, it's even harder than it was back in the day when he was, teaching me that. And it didn't matter wherever you are. It doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. You are always looking for your next hire. And so I remember I tell a story about all the great hires that I have. And here's another one. So this was, in the early days of starting with the company, I used to go to the auction, and I wasn't a people leader, but of course I'm just programmed to observe and pay attention, but, pay attention to how people move and how they work. And there was a young lady who just struck me as every time I went to the auction, I mean, she was like moving and shaking and like everything she was doing 4 or 5 things at one time. And I was just always impressed, and I always looked forward to seeing her when I would go to kind of see what she was up to and what she was doing. So I was on LinkedIn one day, and I noticed that she had opened to work And I'm like, well, open to work, because I know she's been with the company for a long time. And she had shared on LinkedIn that her role had been impacted and she was looking for work. So I had gotten the promotion and we were tasked with building out an inside sales team, but I had not started hiring people yet. Well, when I saw that on LinkedIn, I immediately reached out to her and I said, hey, I'd love to have a conversation and see how I can help you. So we set up this conversation and she's like, well, I'll tell you right now, I'm not a salesperson. My background is, marketing. And she also shared with me that she had owned a franchise. Her and her sister had this business. And I said, well, hello, that's sales. How much entrepreneur, own your own business? That's sales. And she's like, yeah, I guess. And she's like, but like inside sales, like selling over the phone and calling people, cold calling. She's like, I don't know if I could do that. And I said, well, listen, I said, you need a job, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, we're going to see real quick whether or not you're a salesperson, but I think that you may be underestimating that sales and marketing kind of go hand in hand. And what I know about you is that you have transferable skills that mean more than just learning a new product. And that was the thing too. She's like, I don't know anything about, the heavy duty trucking industry. So long story short, I ended up hiring her, and she had really never been in a sales role before. But listen, what I know about hiring talent, and I tell other leaders this all the time, is that there are those hard skills, there are those soft skills, there are transferable skills that go a long way. And I am a perfect example of, coming into a completely new industry. And every couple of years, I get up and I start all over again. And there is a lot to learn. And yes, it's hard work, but there's a grit and there is tenacity. There are things that are in people that are gifts from God. There are things that are in people that they have strengthened and established skills over the years of whatever work. And these things just can't be taught. And so I saw these things, work ethics. Oh my gosh. I can do a whole show just on that in itself. Work ethics. That right there, I hold so high on my priority list, because I'm telling you, in today's workforce, people, listen, I called, we're in the middle of this Allstate claim. And I called my adjuster the other day, and she was out of the office, and her out of office says, I'm not available. If you can call, I think the girl's name was Valencia, at this number, she can help you. That's all it said. Call Valencia at this number, she can help you. I called this girl, and it was so obvious that she has a work from home job. It was Friday afternoon around 2:30. She was not at home. She was completely bothered that I was even calling her on a Friday afternoon. The girl had a whole attitude with me. And then she says, am I your adjuster? I said, no, actually, you're not. But my adjuster is out of the office, and she left your name and phone number. She says, oh, well, you didn't say that at the beginning of the call. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And so she finally rushes me off the phone and says that she has to look up my information because I am not one of her accounts, and she's going to have to call me back. That was last Thursday. Okay. I called back last Friday. Okay. Still have not heard back from this girl. Work ethics is like that's like a highly sought after skill nowadays, right? So let's get back to Annie. I mean, I can't even believe it. I can go on and on and on. If you are one of those people that work from home, please sit your ass down and do your job, okay? Because you are messing it up for everybody else out here that really needs a work from home job. And they are being called back into the office because of your lazy ass not doing your job. Okay? All right. Rant over. Annie, wonderful work ethics. I'll take it any time, any day over not having certain skills that she can be taught. I went for her. I hired her. She's the best salesperson to this day. She was on my team, most successful, high performer. Listen, give people a chance when they have these skills and you see this in people. Give them a chance. If they can't do the job, like I told her, it'll show up. You'll find another job, but we're going to get you back into this company. I'm glad I did. Shout out to Annie. She is a phenomenal person. And like I told her, I'm still coming back for her one day because you don't find Annies every day. When you do, you keep them close to you.
Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Lead Like a Girl. We hope you found today's podcast valuable. If you enjoyed our podcast, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on your preferred platform. Your feedback is crucial in helping us continue to provide high-quality content. If you found the content inspiring, we would like to encourage you to share this podcast with your network. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and leadership insights on Lead Like a Girl. Until next time, lead with passion and purpose.